Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of 10 Minute Tuesday. If you have not already, please like, share, and subscribe. In today's episode, I got Oliver Hughes, the CEO of Count.co in the building. Oliver, what's going on, man?
Hey, Saku. I'm well. Thank you for having me. I'm in the hot seat.
No, I appreciate you taking time out today. So we've done a number of 10 Minute Tuesdays, so let's go ahead and dive into it, man. Oliver, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, sure. I'm Ollie. I am one of the co-founders of Count.co. We're a Canvas-based BI tool. We basically believe data teams should be more than dashboard factories and should be like their organization's problem solvers. And we've built a BI tool around how to help business improvement and how to use that canvas to help you see your business better and collaborate as a team around data rather than it just being on the wall, on a dashboard, and very, very intangible.
Awesome.
That's the business. I guess I live with my wife and two kids just north of London. We're kind of mostly a UK-based company, but we're getting increasingly more international as we go.
Awesome, man. Well, growing rapidly. You're a co-founder. You're creating a product, creating a brand, creating a business. But at a certain point, you had to get your start in data. So what really compelled you to get into data to begin with?
I don't. It's funny. I ask this question a lot on my own podcast, and I love the stories. And I think, like many people I know, I didn't really intentionally fall into data. It was more just sort of walking into a problem and realizing data was the solution, and then getting increasingly down the rabbit hole of actually data can solve lots of problems. So really, I think I got into data because I love solving problems. I love solving problems. Be that what's the best place to have lunch tomorrow, or like how do I make sure my business is growing better. I love problem solving, and I love different ways of problem solving, and I love data for that purpose. And that's really what taken me into data, and also why, I guess I wanted to build a different kind of BI tools. I felt like most of these BI tools weren't helping you solve problems, and I think that's what data is great for. So yeah, that's the journey there.
Love it. Love that. Love like the starting point, how you got into
it.
And
interrupted by my little boy. I'm actually in the middle of a meeting right now. Yes. I will. Okay. Will do. I will.
Hey.
Not now, unless you go. It's a classic
love it. Love it.
request.
Oh, you love the kids. Kids, they always come in when you're talking. Yeah. Awesome.
We've just got I'll tell you the background. We just got a robot mower. This is my hobby this weekend. My boys love playing with it, so I'm just going to turn it on for them, let it trundle around, and then they'll be distracted for the rest of the interview.
No, I love it. Oh, that's great. So we know you know your favorite job is being a dad, being a husband, and you know that's the best role we have. But thinking about that, you know, what's been your quote unquote least favorite job that you've ever had? You know, thinking about it, like I was a construction worker, or I did some stuff I never thought I would ever do.
Yeah, I don't have that kind of reflection particularly. I know there are some jobs I wasn't very suited for. That's probably I found it. I didn't enjoy being in a big corporate environment. I found the politics of big corporate environment often led to the suboptimal decision rather than like working on the pure problem. That didn't really resonate with me much when I was working in bigger companies, particularly public sector in organizations. That's just full of that, and I found that very difficult. So that's kind of the roles I've done in the past, which I knew I wasn't really cut out for. Like, I think that's more my thing. I used to work like stacking shelves in a supermarket when I was 17, and I found that I actually really enjoyed that. There were bits of it I hated, as you can imagine, but the bits of it actually I really loved. I really loved the analytics around it, actually, like getting the daily reports and trying to make decisions on a daily basis based on what the numbers were from sales the day before was kind of cool. But yeah, bits of that I found it exhausting, frankly. So variety of things I know I'm not good at, basically.
No, I completely understand on the bigger enterprises. You just feel like you're just spinning your wheels and you're just doing tasks just to get it out the door. You're not really leveraging your full potential with where you're at. So totally get it. All right. So thinking about this philosophy of failing forward, right? So no one really fails. You just learn from your experience. So thinking about that, what's been your biggest failure and what did you really get from that experience?
The biggest failure, I'm not sure good question. I fail lots all the time. I think that's kind of a thing which I most learned by being in startups, particularly a startup where we've been pivoting the product quite a bit as we try and tackle this problem of what's the right tool for decision making rather than just data. And we went down lots of dead alleys. And really the best thing I learned, or the best failure I made, was realizing the faster I can fail, the better. If that makes sense. Like working at that experiment that it's often called like that kind of lean startup approach of like, what is the best way to prove or disprove this is the right path? And that has been a thing that I have been, if I'm honest, slow to learn, or slower than I need to be, or slow by doing it quicker. I've gone much further. So that's a thing I now think a lot is like, how can I fail fastest in this bet? Because it took us a while when we first started Cow. It took us a while to really get a sense of what was the real cusp of the problem we were solving, and maybe built some products, built too much before we validated as well. The classic failure. So we've learned our mistakes and we're now through that. But those are the big failures. Luckily, nothing killed us as a business, but certainly it could have been an easier path.
Yeah, no, I love that philosophy. Like, I'm an entrepreneur, run my own consulting firm, and you have to fail fast. Like, you can't just sit on it. You have to learn from the experience and just grow from it and build the scabs and build the wounds and build the resistance that comes along with it. Otherwise, I don't think you grow. You have to grow from it.
Yeah, and don't consider failure to be negative. Failure means you've learned, and you know the path, you know where the right path could be, or at least you know where the wrong path is. And it actually doesn't feel like failure when you see it like that. You see it as part of the problem solve of how to make this business better. And that's maybe, exactly what you're saying. Just that mindset shift of like, I want to fail quickly, please.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So thinking about this, right? Even though you're running your own business now, you're building a whole product, but then you did work for someone. In your career, what's one lesson that you learned that you think everyone should learn at some point in their life?
I love these questions. These questions are not easy questions. You must get some great answers to these questions. I think they're great. I wish I had some pearls of wisdom here. I don't know if I what's the one thing that I've learned that I wish? Tell me the question again, just to make sure I get it right.
Yeah. So thinking about your career, right? Yeah. There's, I've experienced a lot. I've gone through a lot of different things, scenarios. Out of that, what's one lesson that you think your job has taught you that you think everyone should learn at some point in their life?
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, I think the one thing I would say, other than what we discussed before about failing fast, is actually a strength, which is definitely one thing I've learned. Like, how to fail fast or how to learn quickly is a real thing that I've learned more and more and more, and it's even more and more true as we grow. The other thing is also to kind of stick to your lane. That it's very easy to look at other people and think they're better than you, to do that comparison thing. And I found that to be quite tricky to start off with, but actually as I've gone on the journey, I've realized that you have no idea what's going on behind the sheen of what they put forward to the world, what's going on behind the scenes. The situation they're in, their context is not yours, and therefore you cannot solve your own path by looking at others necessarily. Like, that is definitely the wrong way to solve problems. And I really believe that. I think that doesn't mean you can't learn from others. It just means that you can't judge your success by looking at other people, because what you think their success is might not be true. And secondly, that the context, the leg up, what's available to them may not be what's available to you. So it's not a guarantee. And I think that's been something which is hard, not easy to learn when we're all very social media animals and we see a lot of very positive stories online. But generally, when you scratch the surface, I've met enough entrepreneurs in my life to know that what's going on behind the scenes, what looks like success, isn't necessarily true. And actually, it can be the quiet ones who aren't making a big loud noise, the ones who are really grinding and doing well. Yeah. So that's been a big lesson for me, and a thing I've kept finding is true as I go on the journey.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm so glad you're actually calling that out, because like you said, social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, all these different ones, right? You think that because they have 100,000 followers and they look like on surface that they're doing all these great things, there's so much behind the scenes that no one talks about, that they're dealing with. So to try and compare yourself or measure yourself or your own journey with them, like, you're doing yourself such a disservice by doing that. Yeah,
you can learn from them. You can learn how they do it, but you can't necessarily take their success as a measure of your own, basically.
Yeah. Love that. All right, Oliver, tell me about the most influential people in your life and how they made an impact on you.
Oh, wow. Loads of people. I think it's one of the things, again, back to where you can't look at others. Like, the success I have is not down to my own ability. It's down to the people around me and the setting I've been in. I owe a lot to my parents, who gave me good work ethic. I owe a lot to my grandfather, who was an entrepreneur in his own time back in the 50s. And like, he's got some crazy stories of selling things all over Europe into Russia, which has always blown my mind. So that's been definitely a thing I've listened to. My wife, she's a doctor. One thing I've really valued from her is like level-headedness. I think I have a bad day in data. It's nothing compared to what a bad day looks like if you're a medical professional. So that's always been helpful to get some grounding. I think as you can see, like my family is a big influence to me. I'm very lucky to have them. There are lots of friends and support groups out there as well. But yeah, that's definitely been something I feel most pleased to have. Yeah.
Love it, man. Shout out to Granddad selling stuff everywhere, going all across the place.
The world is even there. Yeah.
And shout out to the wives, man. But yeah, you bring a good point, right? You think about the stuff that we deal day in and day out. We're in front of a computer and we're typing and sending emails and just like, no, there's some real big medical emergencies out here. If you have a bad day, you're like, woof. So yeah, shout out to the wives, man. Awesome. Absolutely. All right, Oliver, where can listeners find you at online?
I'm mostly online on LinkedIn. You can find me Oliver Hughes. I think my LinkedIn tag is Hughes Oliver, if that's helpful. But yeah, find me on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time. That's where I spend most of my kind of on the train thinking up ideas around data. That's where I post them on LinkedIn. So you can find me there.
Awesome. Follow him on LinkedIn. Follow his company. Is doing some great stuff. Oliver, thank you so much for joining today, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. It's been really fun.
Hey, no problem. And then, as I said in the beginning, if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll talk to y'all next week. Y'all have a great day.